You ever wonder what it must have taken for someone to think of an invention? Like, even if it was just out of necessity, like, how weird do you think it must have felt? Like, because, I mean, even with niche inventions, like, this hole puncher, I mean, like, I guess that you would need holes punched in them, but I don't know if, I don't know what came first, honestly. Did, did the hole puncher come first, or did the shit that goes in the holes come first? And, like, did they just come pre-holed or something? Or, like, you see, I have this thing of tape right here. It's basically a strip of paper, and they put glue on one side, and it makes me wonder, how did they think of the compounds of glue? Did they just take, like, a slug and put it to a reed or something, and just slimed up one side, and then stuck the reed somewhere and was like, you know what, we could use that? Or fucking, I don't know. Or, like, who do you think was the genius that thought of, I don't know, any of the technology that we use? Like, who figured out that friggin', shit, man, I have no clue. I'm trying to think of things that weren't really obvious, or like things that could just show up in nature. Like, you didn't really have to really think about creating playing cards or nothing like that. They just sort of were there. I mean, maybe you would have to think of the games, but I don't know if that was really something that you could have thought of, or maybe something like this gripping tool that's supposed to help you with your grip or whatever. Like, I don't know how this could occur in nature, and yeah, it's an exercise item, but it makes me wonder, like, how they thought of it, or like, fuck, I don't know, because when you think about it, there's a whole lot of shit that just, sort of made sense, but freaking, who thought of the screwdriver? Like, or who thought to make the three different types of screws, the flathead, the Phillip, and the star, or, I don't know what that 5-pointed one that they have on technology is called, but, yeah, that one. I wonder how they thought of that, just, like, fucking, and then, like, how about, glasses, my glasses, eyeglasses. Who, like, how did you think to make glass thicker or less thicker, dim or whatever, and then it would somehow make your vision better if you just put it up to your face? And I don't know how they do that. That's magic. Fucking anything electronic, I guess, could be attributed to that time that there was that guy fucking around with the kite and had the key on the kite or something like that. Yeah, I think that was what's his face? I think that was Benjamin Franklin, but yeah, I'm not too sure. I don't know if that's just a story that they told. Okay, camera froze, whatever. I'm gonna keep going. Now I just can't use any examples. But I mean, maybe a broom, like maybe you just had a leaf that you just pushed stuff around. A belt, maybe you just like took a rope and tied it around your pants, and they found a better way to hold your pants up. Or shades, that just tinted glass. a lightning bulb. I mean, you create enough heat to make a fire, and then, you know, the fire makes light, but then they couldn't just set shit on fire. So they used electricity, because, you know, electricity glows from lightning or whatever. And what I wonder is, how did they make the first car? Because, like, yeah, maybe the more complex things would be easier to really think about, like, or less easy to think about, rather, because because the way that an engine works, right, is that you get your oil, your combustible liquid, and what happens is that the pistons or whatever in the engine, as far as I know, alright, my conjecture or whatever, is that it just beats onto the oil and makes it, you know, explode and make it fire, you know, because then that creates kinetic energy or whatever. And then, you know, that just, it somehow transfers the energy from that to make the car move. And I wonder who thought, or were they just blowing shit up in a box? And then, fucking Ford says, hey, you know what? How about we stick a stick with wheels on two sides of it and see if it moves? And then they stuck it to the box, and then, you know, the wheels started to roll, and they were like, good God, Ford, you're a genius. And then it just went on from there. Who the fuck thought of that? Because, like, in my eyes, right, anything and everything that is done had to be thought of through observation. Or, oh yeah, bread. Who was the first guy to think of bread, right? Because I'm pretty sure that it's one of those really specifically, really specific, what's it called? Specific and tedious, you know, activities. You know, you gotta grab the flour, grab the eggs, water. You gotta mash them all together. You gotta find yeast. I don't even know where yeast grows, but, you know, whatever. Then you gotta throw it in an oven for so long, bring it out every once in a while, beat it up again, throw it back in. You know, you bring it out to cool. I like to think that there was just a kid that was playing around with the ingredients in a stockpile or whatever, and said, you know what, I bet I could eat this. And then he was like, you know what, actually, I think I would like it better if it was warm. So he throws it in, brings it out, beats it up a little bit, throws it back in, because, you know what, maybe it got cold. And then he brings it out, and he's like, oh, it's rising. And at that point, didn't, you know, flat out just say, oh God, it's alive, and then throw it away. But then he just let it grow, and then killed it by bringing it out, and then decided, yeah, I'll eat it. And then just tossed it in his mouth, like, and then, like, and then it's also weird, because then, like, in religion and whatnot, they say that, like, bread or something similar was a gift from God. So I wonder if that was just him, like, hiding his recipe, because, my bad, I dropped the mic. Well, I wonder if, like, that was just the same as he was figuring it out himself. Like, he didn't know either, so he's like, it's a gift from God, bro, I don't know. But then, like, did he walk over to the butchers and be like, yo, I bet if I put your meat in my buns, then maybe they'll be good? Because he would have named them buns by now. I don't fucking know why. I don't know why they're speaking pure English either. The innuendo was completely intentional. But, like, did he walk over to the guy that invented cheese and was like, yo, give me some of that? And then, boom, that was, like, the first sandwich. Well, I mean, obviously, because, like, fucking lettuce and tomatoes and onions and shit existed at that point. I mean, like, not in the forms that we know them today, but they had to exist at some point. Like, bread doesn't look like, I mean, modern bread doesn't look like bread from then, and, like, obviously way altered. I'm not talking about fucking big ass slab of fucking beef. You probably put in a good chunk of meat. And then, the cheese wasn't like all yellow and shit like they have in those craft singles that they have now. It was probably like, fucking creamy, like white shit. They just slathered on there and was like, okay, I'm gonna eat this now, and if I don't immediately die, I guess this is the new thing for the next fucking forever. And then, like, and I wonder how did I can understand. I was gonna say, how did we make transportation? Cause yeah, you know what, chariots. Yeah, a horse moves faster than me. So, and he's also stronger than me. So what if I got him to pull me around? And then, boats, like maybe you saw a log floating in the water at some point. You were like, "Oh, well, what if I sat on that?" And then like, boom, that was a canoe. And he was like, "Oh, my ass kind of hurts and I kind of fall off a lot. What if I made a chair in the boat? I mean, in the log, and then boom, canoe." He was like, "Wait, I need a way to steer. Let me grab that stick over there. Like maybe if I push the water with the flat end of the stick, maybe I could change my propulsion." And then boom, the first oar. And, sails, right? Because they would have had to have clothes or some sort of sheets at this point. So maybe he was weaving something and like it kept getting caught in the wind. So he was like, "Hey, wait, this actually catches wind. And if I put this on my kayak attached to a pole, then maybe I could get the wind to carry me instead of having to use my arms." And then, like, that's how the first sailboat was introduced. And then, of course, he was sitting and maybe he dropped his oar. And then eventually, because, they would have had to start off in Gibraltar and he ended up in fucking North Iceland. And that was the first Icelandic boy. I think there were land bridges, but my explanation is funnier. Or not funny, it's just weird. Fucking. I'm having a lot of trouble with comedy nowadays. Shit. Like, I can't. I haven't thought of a good joke in a while. I've just been sort of spitting things out and hoping that someone laughs. That's a personal issue, though. Nobody worry about it. Or who was the first guy to think of the radio? Like, I don't think that there was any way to tell that the radio existed up until, the radio started existing. I, I don't know how you could really think of that, honestly, because it's like, it's waves that you can't see, and like, maybe you could have figured out that, sounds are vibrated through air in waves, and then maybe you could find a way to pick up the waves that you can't hear, and then play them on, and then like translate them to shorter or longer waves for us to hear. And same thing with cable, except they just made it visible. I'm not really sure how they managed to, like, you know get specific waves. I mean, they do change, I guess, but I don't know. I just think that that's pretty sick. Or yeah, how about data? Like, that shit. Because, I mean, if I were to take, like, a cord from my phone and connect it to a computer or something, and I have the computer, show the screen of my phone on the computer, then, like, that's pretty extraordinary, I think, because then, it's a transfer of data. Because, like, we take it for granted how cool all the shit that we have is. Like, I mean, yeah, we're grateful. Like, yo, the phone's really good, or the computer's really fucking good now. And like, I'm not trying to knock anybody for like, getting used to it, because I've gotten used to it, but I, it's not like I'm taking it for granted or anything, or like trying to be elitist. It's just that sometimes I forget to think about how cool all this shit is. Because, like, I've lived without the internet for a majority of my life. And now that I've had it for a couple years, it's amazing still. Because, like, friggin'. It's. It's a weird concept. Like, I can spread information, um, recreations, or different perspectives of things that really happened. I could take sounds that I've made from my mouth, and I can talk pretty much to someone all the way in fucking Malaysia or something. I don't know if that's a real place. No, I'm kidding. It is, but shit. Like I said, I'm having a lot of trouble with comedy. But, like, and it doesn't even have to be a two-sided. Like, I'm already here talking at you. It's weird. Or, like, or could you imagine the most niche job that there is to make? Like, what's the most niche profession that you could really think of? I would think. Okay, I'm gonna check what's on screen right now, cause yeah, it's frozen. You see that I don't know what that's called, but that cover on the light behind me, just above my shoulder. Yeah, that's actually supposed to dampen the light slightly from the light bulb behind it. Could you imagine how cliche, how niche of a job that is? To, because someone's got to pour the glass into the mold and whatnot, put the stickers on, or at least turn on the machine. Like, you would think that who really thinks of it? Or, like, who really thinks I'm gonna do that? You know what I'm saying? Because, friggin', as a kid, I'm pretty sure that as a kid, you've never thought, I want to be the guy that molds the stuff that dampens light bulbs. Or like, I want to be the guy that creates the cases for guitars and other instruments. Like, I mean, I think at one point I did think, wouldn't it be cool if I could, like, make the guitars and stuff, but I never really thought about the cases. Or, like, those people that weave baskets for a living. I mean, I could see people wanting to do that, but what about the guy that... What about the guy that... No, I was gonna say, what about the guy that can mold clocks out of glass or whatever, but... it's... how about the guy... The guy that makes the Spider-Man hat. I mean, you can't really see it, but you've seen it before. Just hats in general, like the baseball caps. Like, did you ever once as a kid say, I want to make hats for a living? I want to embroider the hats. Like, that's usually stuff that we would relegate other people to. It's like those jobs that would be like, yeah, I mean, I know that we need it or want it. There's a demand for it, but like, I'm not gonna supply it, Like, there are plenty jobs like that. And I know that this might be like a computer thing, like a robot thing that robots do, but who thought to make that shit click? Like, who makes the keys? Like, that's It's crazy. I think that that's kind of an odd concept. Or like I have this stack in front of me of coasters. Like, I mean, coasters are easy to make, but you also gotta like think of a lot of things while you make a coaster, I think. So I wonder who thought that, you know what, coasters themselves are already kind of redundant because, like, yeah, I don't want to leave the temporary marks that I'll leave on a table if I leave my cup here when, like, it doesn't really matter. I mean, unless you got the shiny wooden tables, like, it doesn't matter because, you know, it goes away if you just wipe it off a couple times. Or, how about the guy that makes paint? How much money you think is in the paint making business? Okay, like, not using the paint like an artist, but like actually going out to find the dyes and to find the, you know, the single paint like solution or paste or something. And then like having to, you know, physically go out to find the color and then find the right color to really be used in most circumstances. Like an artist, all he has to do is take the colors that he's found and then use them to the best of his ability or in a way that he thinks might be, you know, neat. But the paint crafter, and, you know, here's another discussion, yeah. Which one takes more skill? The guy who makes the paint for the artist to use, or the artist that takes the paint that was made and makes his art? Like, I think that that's kind of a weird topic, depending on who you, like, depending on how you think of things. I think you might have a different opinion on this, because I think that, like, there is a certain sort of skill that goes into, like, making paint. Because, you know, you gotta make a certain shade of paint. Like, say, a certain shade of green that, you know, someone's gonna use. I mean, like, there's, like, a million shades of green. Well, there's a million shades of any color, really, but green is kind of something that, like, say if I'm drawing a plant or something, right, then simple green could get the job done. Maybe 2 or 3 colors of slightly different green might make a believable leaf, but if I were to go for that ultra realistic leaf, then I might need like 50, 60 different shades of green. Like when you think of a gradient, right, you only see like maybe 3 main pop colors, you know, where you get dark, light, and, you know, normal green. Then you gotta remember all the shades that are like in between that make it smooth enough. Like between a dark and, you know, normal green, that's like already 100, 200, fucking a million completely unique shades of green just in that one gradient, and that's pretty sick. And, like, you may be thinking that I'm talking out my ass here. I kind of am, but I can't think of anything else to really talk about at the moment. There's nothing much going in my head as of right now. I'm not even, like, I'm contemplating just not editing this at all, even. And, you know, I think I'm just gonna not edit this at all, but that means that I'm gonna have to be constantly talking, or I'm just gonna end it. And, sometimes when I upload things where I'm just talking, sometimes, like, I'll think of something that I realize that I could have said, but, the video's already up, and, like, the effort that it takes to just, maybe delete it from my gallery, add that one bit in, export the entire rest of the thing, and then, upload it again. Like, that's just too tedious and kind of, negates the purpose of uploading it in the first place. And I think, like, if I change it too much after the first time, then did I ever really get it out in the first place, I wonder. You know what? It's not everybody has this struggle, so I don't really know why but you know what? It's kind of similar to the struggle that one might have in conversation. Where it's like, say you're in a conversation, and then the conversation ends, and then you think of a way that you could have spiced it up and then made the conversation go a different way, like later on in the shower or in bed or fucking as you're walking away, and you're like, wait, I could have said that, but then, like, it's already too late by a lot. Yeah, those feelings are, it's kind of the same feeling. Man, I really don't know, and it's 20 minutes long. I mean, you might be content, but I feel like I have more to say, but I don't know what it is that I want to say, which is just as frustrating as saying something that I didn't want to, or not saying something that I did. It's an odd predicament. So, you know what, I'm just gonna chance it and hope that I got everything that I wanted to talk about. So, yeah, I'm gonna end it.